Welcome, Mathilde. Great to have you on Entrepreneur Stories.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
It's exciting to have you here, first guest of 2025, which is awesome. I can't believe we're in a new year and we're still going with Entrepreneur Stories, which is exciting.
Yeah.
Mathilde, you're a professionally certified coach and coaching supervisor. Um, why would an entrepreneur, a business owner, a corporate leader, I guess someone like me who's got a decade or two of experience, why would I need a professional coach?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you would need one and not need one at the same time. I would say that when you're a leader, you're usually facing yourself, like, yeah, and having many decisions to make. And some decisions are like easy to make, some others are not at all. And people who go and find a coach really go there because they want a sounding board, like people, someone who can think with you and like process things and help you to think in different perspectives. So that's the entry door, let's say.
Okay.
um, some people who've already been coached would come for much more than that. Yeah.
Okay. So what would that look like? What would someone who's been coached come for? A more specific ask?
Yeah, well, they would really know that they will have a non-judgmental space.
Okay.
It's like open and free, so that you can really trust that everything will be, said and heard and listened to with an open mind, which is actually allowing a lot. Like it really helps people to process in different ways, yes, but also to discover things about themselves and to find out that there is much more to what they are bringing that they thought in the beginning. Um, uh, yeah, and people who've been coached would or also know that they will learn about themselves a lot in the process. So they would tend to come back to coaching for that as well.
And that personal discovery happens over a series of conversations, a series of sessions. And it's normally focused on one or two areas that I guess the person who's coming for coaching wants to focus on. Would that be correct?
Yes, it would be correct. And there would be many surprises on the way. And that's something I love about coaching is that you really don't know what you will find. Like you do have a direction and you have areas of focus, as you say, of course, yes. Um, and at the same time, you can learn things about yourself that are that look aside or are not being part of these areas of focus you had chosen.
Okay.
And for example, someone who would come for a leadership, leadership questions or challenges, would learn things that they would use at home as well.
Okay.
That would be
Okay.
unexpected.
So like controlling your emotions in a difficult situation can be used in a lot of different environments, whether it's work, whether it's, social,
Exactly, or
whether it's personal at home.
exactly, or how your values play out and how uh, wear them on your sleeve, whether you're at home, in the office or at home or whatever. Yeah, so many unexpected benefits actually. Yeah.
Okay. So you're as I said, professionally certified coach and coaching supervisor. What does that mean?
Yeah, good question. So, professional certified coach, which is usually shortened at PCC, is actually a credential that I earned with the International Coaching Federation. Uh, that's a professional body that was formed about coming to 30 years ago now. That's truly global and able to like assess people and say like, yes, you're certified. And there's several levels of credential. So PCC is the middle one, let's say, for like experienced coaches. ACC is the entry one, which means that people have trained as a coach and have more than 100 hours of experience of coaching, which is, I think, a good entry level
Okay.
already. So PCC is the middle one, and MCC is the master, which I'm working towards, but it takes a lot of experience. Like you need to prove that you have coached more than 2,500 hours.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, which is masterful.
And is there a number of people you have to coach as well? Because it's obviously not 2,500 hours with 3 people. Or 4.
Of course not. No, they would be coached out. So it has several. Let's say it's checking several things, but basically how much you've trained and how much you've coached. Yeah, so that you have a level of knowledge and a level of practice. Yes, so that's what it means to be a professional certified coach. And a coaching supervisor is training I've taken that's not many coaches take actually, which is really about helping coaches to develop themselves along the way. So I do supervise coaches as well, which is immensely interesting. And the reason why I trained as a coaching supervisor is that I was learning so much with my own supervision as a coach and on myself that I decided I would train as a supervisor as well, to also offer Hong Kong one more trained supervisor, which there are not so many in Hong Kong. And I think it's important.
Okay. And so what type of people typically come to you for coaching?
Yeah, well, many different people. It can be, first, I can be hired by companies or directly by people. When it's companies, in a nutshell, sometimes it's like good news coaching. It's like, hey, you're a high potential. We want to accelerate your development. So we hired a coach for you. Yeah, that's the best news coaching. Sometimes it's more like developmental coaching. Like, we want to promote you, but, and there is it can be said with the end in best cases. So yeah, it's so in this case, companies would hire me and say, look, we would like this person to develop this and that. Could you work with them towards that? Yeah. And sometimes it's like people directly coming to me, like it can be leaders, can be entrepreneurs, lots of people calling themselves change makers are coming to coaching as well, which is interesting. Yes.
On the company side, I'm curious, is it common for companies to invest in a coach for an individual, or is it more sort of team coaching? And if it's individual, what type of level are we talking about? I'm guessing we're talking about people who the company sees as future senior leadership, and that's why they're investing. Because I haven't seen that in my corporate career on an individual level. I've seen it at a group level, or I've seen groups of people selected at a certain level in the organization to receive a certain type of, let's call it, further education training.
Yes.
How does that look in the corporate world? I'm curious.
Yes. Yeah. So definitely team coaching, as you say, is developing at the moment. I would say 15 years ago, coaching was almost only for higher level executives, like C-suite and managing directors, or, as you say, like people who are about to be promoted to this level. Yeah. So when I trained as a coach, it was like a lot, like the case in most companies. What happened since then is quite interesting. First, coaching is more widely known, and some companies have really decided to embrace it more. Like to offer it to either middle managers who are actually in by definition sandwich positions.
Yep.
And really have
Not easy.
a lot of I mean, can absolutely benefit from coaching as well. So some companies do that quite early on. Second, many entrepreneurs are embracing coaching, and that changes the way coaching is perceived. Like, it used to be called executive coaching. Now we use more like coaching in general. And it can be used like too much or misused. Yeah, that's another thing we can discuss about.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah.
So executive coaching versus other types of coaching. There's quite a when I go on the ICF website, there's a lot of different
Oh, yeah.
types of coaching. What's the difference between an executive coach and a personal coach and a business coach? And is it just the topics that you cover, or is it more than that?
Oh, there are many differences. In one way, we could say that there are as many ways to coach as there are coaches. So it's like really, thousands and thousands. But in general, executive coaching is, let's say, in the very, very beginning, you had sports coaching, and that was the birth of coaching. Yeah, when athletes actually were trained and then they were coached, because we discovered that at a certain level of technicity, it's not anymore about technique. It's about the mindset and removing any interferences that are coming in your way. Yeah, so coaching went from the golf courts or tennis courts into corporates this way, into executive coaching. And now it's indeed boomed in so many different directions. So executive coaching still is on, like for like leaders and managers in corporates. It can, as you say, business coaching is it's a very interesting one. In many cases, when I discuss with business coaches, I think we're not doing the same job. To be very honest,
Okay.
Because they are advising people
On how to run their business.
most of the time. Yeah. So, which is very useful, absolutely. And at the same time, it's not coaching. What I call coaching, or what ICF calls coaching, in a way, and we can discuss it. Like what is it? I also hear a lot about life coaching. Yeah, it's really boomed a few years before COVID and during COVID a lot, because I think people became a bit more aware of certain challenges they had and mental health challenges and how to prevent them, which I think again is good news.
Yep.
For me, coaching is a way to partner with someone, and like these keywords are entry doors into like how you support people. And sometimes, what is it about? Like, is it only about work, only about life? In many cases, it's both.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's to improve, I guess the intended outcome is to improve performance and to improve how people are feeling about themselves and what they do every day. I guess, would that be kind of the intended outcome of going to see an executive coach?
So performance can be one, yes. Improving clarity as well in your way of thinking.
Okay.
When you're in your own mind, you don't know what you don't know.
Yep. Yeah.
And you don't know what you're overlooking.
Yeah. Blind spots, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. With decision making, or like any kind of like challenges that you're facing as a leader, like team leadership and strategic thinking, or whatever you're facing, having someone to help you think in different perspectives.
Yeah.
So that's a key thing. Performance is one, yes, but like variety of perspective and like width and depth of thinking is what people are looking for once they know. And the third one would be self-development, like learning about self, like in many different ways. Yeah.
Okay. You had a decade of corporate leadership experience before you went into coaching, maybe over that a decade. As a full-time, before you went into coaching as a full-time independent profession, why did you make the move away from corporate, and why into coaching specifically?
Yeah. Well, it was not intended to be away from corporate first. And actually, I'm still a lot with corporates, not within, but with.
With, yeah. You partner with them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was a talent development specialist. So looking at how people develop, how people can prepare for their next career jump in a big corporate. That was using a lot of these kind of tools. But the way we were doing it was, I think, way too standardized. And then I decided to train as a coach because I wanted to do things in more like individual ways and more, I mean, with more subtle uh, ways to align people to help people align their leadership with who they really are.
Okay.
Instead of training people to be the leader the company wants.
Right.
Only that. Ideally, what I want you to do is train them as a leader the company wants and help them understand who they are, and they can align what they do with who they are. So that's the reason why I train as a coach. And then, I loved it a lot, like way too much to do anything else than this. And I tried to do some internal coaching, and like 12 years ago, it was proving to be difficult. And then I thought, okay, let's do it like elsewhere.
So when you say internal coaching, you were trying to do it when you were still full-time employed?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. I guess the difference today is that people or companies are coming to you, whereas when you're in corporate, it's like you've been selected for this program and you need to do this program.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm guessing some people are wondering, why are you wasting my time? And other people embrace it and benefit from it.
It can totally become a box ticking exercise. Yeah. Like if I'm in the high potential program, then I should do this and do that. And it also, what I discovered, it also causes a lot of questions about confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
And managing confidentiality when you're an internal coach is really difficult. Yeah, because managing boundaries and really creating trust enough, let's say, so that you can actually coach is something I do supervise coaches on a lot. So I hear about it a lot.
Okay.
And it's a tough one.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess the confidentiality aspect when you are talking to someone who is seen as a member of the HR team is very different than when you're talking to an independent coach who you've sort of chosen to work with.
Yes.
So I guess there's a much more people will be much more open away from the corporate boundaries, if you like. And
yes, they are.
Yeah.
Yes.
Interesting. So what are some of the common misconceptions about coaching that you encounter, especially among seasoned professionals?
Oh, yeah.
Because like I said to you myself that I was skeptical
Yes.
and so I'm just curious, like, what are the common misconceptions that you hear?
Yes. Well, one big misconception is people who think of coaching like mentoring.
Mhm.
Like, for example, my coach should have the same level of experience as me or should come from the same industry, because then they would understand and then they would like be able to give me tips, whatever. Yeah. If you want someone to teach you the art of your work, then that's a mentor
Okay.
that you want.
Okay. And that's what I see myself as with my team.
Yes.
I see myself as sort of, I would like to think that I'm mentoring these people in certain situations. There's a lot of situations where my team are better than me, but there's certain situations where I feel like I'm there to mentor them. So then what's the difference with coaching then?
Well, as a mentor, you would share your experience. You could maybe sometimes share advice because you've been there.
Yeah.
You know where they are at, and you know how it feels, and you remember. Maybe it's slightly different, but you really think sometimes that you're sharing your experience could help, and in many cases it does. Yeah, when you have this level of trust. Yeah, that's a common ground for coaching and mentoring. Trust, absolutely.
Okay.
But I hear a lot of people saying that they're coaching their team. I think that's a misconception. Like most leaders are beautifully mentoring their teams, and that's already beautiful. That's already beautiful. Another misconception is about advising. Coaching is different to advising. What I was sharing about business coaches is one example of that. Yeah, when you're like advising someone who how to set up their business, grow their business, develop it, etc. You're giving advice based on knowledge that you have. that you have acquired from experience, from studying, whatever. As a coach, you don't advise. Yeah. You actually refrain from doing it
Okay.
because the role of a coach is to bring a neutral perspective. And the role of a coach is not the role of a person who is knowledgeable more than the person they are coaching. A coaching relationship is really equal to equal.
Okay.
So then the coach is not like more knowledgeable or more experienced or whatever. I mean, maybe they are, but coaching is not about that. And that's a very common misconception. Many people ask me like, but can't you just still give me a tip?
Yeah.
And yes, sometimes it's possible. I would just want to be very clear that this is not coaching.
So could I say that you steer the discussion towards almost self-discovery
Yeah. Yeah.
and help people to just talk through the things that they're feeling and help them to find their own solutions?
Yes. So talk through what they're feeling is one way, of course.
Yeah.
Like self-discovery is one benefit
Yep.
that can stem from that. And sometimes it's really what I help people do is become creative again.
Okay.
Get away from themselves,
Yeah.
from their own way. Exactly like the athlete on the tennis court is getting in their own way because they are polluted. Their mind is polluted by things that are like coming through and not allowing themselves to play at their best.
Yeah.
Yeah. And this is what we're discussing. So when you're facing a challenge or when you have a decision to make and somehow you can't make it, or you're finding yourself looking at only one one angle of the situation, then you're not helping yourself and the coach. So it's really not only on self-discovery, and it's a lot as well about like yourself as the best performer in what you're doing.
Okay.
Because it can help you get away from these interferences.
So what advice would you give to someone who is hesitant about investing their time and resources into coaching, but maybe thinking about it? What would you say to someone who's sort of sitting on the fence a little bit? I've got a packed schedule. It's going to cost me a lot of money. I've got family at home. Do I really want to take the time out to do this? What advice would you give to someone like that? Maybe they're stuck in their career though, and they're thinking like, I could do with someone to remove these mental roadblocks.
Yes.
What would you say to someone?
Yes. One first thing is to like ask people who've done it. How they benefited, what was it like, so that you hear about it a bit.
And that's what piqued my interest in this discussion.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And usually, I mean, it happens a lot like this. And people hear about it. It's a very much word of mouth based process. Yeah. Because it's based on trust.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if you hear about it from a person you trust, then it's like one way to to consider it. Then the real advice I would give is that meet the person. Yeah, because this will only cost a bit of your time. Yeah, it will be for free. And if it's not, I would wonder why. I think it's important that the first meeting is for free so that there is no, there's no commitment.
Yeah.
It's a real, we call it the chemistry check. And it's a check. Yeah. So you're like having a conversation check. And what you want to check when you hire a coach is when you will be a bit more at ease, like maybe not the first minutes, but when you relax a bit, the question to ask yourself is, do I feel I can trust this person? Yeah. And that's a feeling question. Yeah. And the second question would be like, will this person help me think? Yeah. That this person asks questions that may like trigger my ways of thinking enough. Yeah. So it's important. Like, for example, if the coach has always the same ways of thinking that you have, well, maybe it's not the coach you need.
Yeah.
And you need someone who has quite different personality, different ways of thinking, because
Mhm.
this will be challenging and productive
Yep.
at the same time. That's what you want.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, yeah, that's the advice I would give.
And so how do you measure progress and success in coaching? Is
Hmm.
it something you just feel over time, or is it more black and white than that?
Well, it really depends what you coach on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Some coaches, for example, focus a lot on performance at work, and then they would have like ways to measure with really like hard data.
Mhm.
That's one like easier way, let's say. When you coach, for example, I coach a lot of people on their leadership style, or help them to prepare their next career transitions. How do you measure that? That's a real question. I agree with you. um, uh, First, the first thing you do with the coaching counterpart is to set goals with them.
Okay.
Say like we have like, let's say I typically offer 8 sessions to people, so that's a real journey. And the first job we have is to look at this journey and say, look, what would you like to have in your hands when you leave like this journey together? And we set these goals and we assess like, where are we now? Where do we want to land? And what will it look like, as specifically as possible? And then we put measurements with this. And for example, sometimes it's, if it's a coaching about people leadership, you can measure trust,
Mhm.
especially when you've measured it at first. Say like, what's the level of trust with my team members, and would I dare to ask them now, or do I want to assess it myself, which is fine as well. And if it's a 3 on 10 now, where do I want to land? And what will it look like exactly?
Okay.
And when I'm hired by a company, we do these very specific measurements, because I want the company, like, not only to be happy, but to be convinced.
Okay. Yeah.
And they will be convinced with measurements.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so they would ask their team to fill out some kind of a form, or give them some feedback on how it's going. And then they'd also, I guess, see the performance every day in the office, and how it's moving.
Absolutely. And they could ask their team members to do it, or they could, like, sometimes I do interviews with people, team members,
Mhm.
like to check, because it's easier to get reliable data with a conversation rather than, with a paper evaluation where people would be not sure, like, how will this be used, and is it really confidential, whatever. Um, Yes. And what I always highlight at the end of a coaching is the what's visible and what's not visible, or not yet visible.
Mhm.
But when it's a coaching with a company, I always start with the boss, asking them, what have you seen? What's new? And they would say, they would really list things, and they know what we've been working about, like in a broad sense. And sometimes they're really amazed, like how, wow, it's a bit more than what they would
Yeah.
have anticipated.
Yeah.
And then I always ask the person I coach, like, what else, if you're happy to share, what else uh, is not yet visible that you have developed, or what's new for them, and they can measure that like, for example, self-confidence level. And they would express that, and I think it's important not only to measure but also to express it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share with us a story, a success story, someone that you've coached, and what their goals were when they came in, and how that looks today?
Yeah, absolutely. I have many. One what that comes to mind, because it's been very much present in the past year, um, is the story of an entrepreneur who is very passionate about what she does. Like, she's a founder of her company. She's very um, like more than committed.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it's a social enterprise, so with a goal that's very, very dear to her heart and her values. When she arrived in coaching, she was reaching a level of stress that was unbearable. She was saying she was overwhelmed, and she was not sure how much longer she would, be able to cope. So that was concerning.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and the interesting thing is that she didn't believe coaching could help.
Okay.
But she was sent by someone
Okay.
like who wanted good. I mean, who was concerned with her mental health actually, and she reached out and say, "Look, I mean, can we have a go? Like, have one session as a go?" It's like, sure, let's do one and see, if it helps. Um, and so we had one session actually, single. What happened within this session is that first she realized how much she was overwhelmed, and it was the first time she looked at herself in the mirror. Like, so I played the mirror a lot, and so she used me as a mirror and say, "Look, like I am overwhelmed. This is too much," and she would not allow herself to say this before. So that was not a nice thing, but a useful thing, because from there, like within this session, she decided to adopt like boundaries and structure her time differently.
Okay.
And what happened was that after this session, she recontacted me to not only to say, "Look, I mean, I'm absolutely convinced, and I would never have expected that I would learn so much in one session, but I actually changed the way I work." And I never do one session journeys, so it's not very typical. But I was thinking, if I could capture a story that tells about 2024, it's been so much about this by people like very passionate, very overwhelmed, and who were not able to like make decisions about like, here now I work, now I don't work. I say yes to this, I say no to that, and this is why.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, she decided to do this, and she's much better. We're still in touch.
So this is what opening doors looks like then.
Yeah.
You open doors for people that maybe have otherwise been closed, or help them to just see where they can open a door and change their perspective a little bit. And
Yeah,
I think sometimes you think about it as almost resetting the narrative.
absolutely. It's a lot about that.
Yeah.
People usually know what to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there is a reason why they're not doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the boundary, in this example with boundaries, it's an obvious one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I said to you when we decided, or when we first talked about having this session, that I've been a little bit skeptical about coaching, partly because you go on LinkedIn and I find, one, a lot of coaches and a lot of people suddenly changing their profile to, "I'm now an executive coach," or "I'm now a business coach," or "I'm now a personal coach," or "I'm now a career coach." But what really piqued my interest was seeing and hearing about the benefits of coaching firsthand, both within my team and also within, I guess, my wider friendship group. And I thought there's got to be something here. And so we discussed, I guess, having that one session here today,
Yes.
which will be interesting. So maybe we should just jump straight in and assume that I've met you for a coffee. We've done that first, get to know each other. I'm comfortable with you. I feel like I can trust you. And we have done that because we spent time together and we know each
Yes.
other. So if this was the first coaching session and I walked into your office or coffee shop where we're meeting, what would it look like? So let's just role play it and see. And I'll say this now. I came into this thinking that if I had booked a session with you, Mathilde, what would I do in the lead up to that session?
Mm-hmm.
And I know what I would be thinking is, I wonder what Mathilde's going to ask me today, right? Because I would want to be prepared. I would probably do it last minute because that's who I am and how I work. But I would not want to go in completely unprepared.
Okay.
So only this morning, I got onto an AI platform and I said, I'm Rasheed Shroff, founder and owner of Banging Workspace and Dragonfly Asia Pacific. And I'm meeting with Executive Coach Mathilde today. What questions is she going to ask me? And it threw a bunch out at me. So I've been thinking about those, but I have no idea if you're going to ask me the same questions or not. So I'll put that out there and then
Now I'm curious.
let's-
Like to hear about what AI would ask you.
and we can cover that afterwards. But let's spend the next 20, 30 minutes just assuming that this is a session, and I'll be as completely open and transparent with you as I can.
Thank you. And that's the starting point. Yeah. Well, because I mean, coaching cannot be role played.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could try, but it can't.
can't.
Then it won't be coaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, as we say, like it's trust based, and we have like now, like it's a slightly different space as like now we are opening where it's a space that's first is to your service.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Second, it's a space where I mean, to your service, that you will not be judged, you will be listened, you will be seen as you are. Yeah. Um, and yes, it's a space where I would ask questions, and sometimes I would do some other things.
Okay.
Yeah. Like if you're okay with that, I would sometimes use silence.
Okay.
Yeah. And see what comes from silence. That's something I use as well. You're okay with that?
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
And I may as well bring things to your notice, like to say, like if I notice something, and I would like bring it up and see, if it helps you, or if it helps you, learn anything, or if it brings any ideas. Okay,
Mhm.
that's fine for you.
Yep. Fine.
Okay. And the last thing I want to check with you is like, is this a space where you can be creative, like fully yourself, open-minded?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. I think,
Yeah.
I mean, for one, I'm comfortable with you. And two, the space we're in, I'm obviously comfortable in because it's the space I work in every day. And
Yes.
it's my space in a way. So
Exactly. And it's a beautiful one.
thank you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. If at any point I bring up something that's, and any question, for example, that would not be comfortable for you to answer, please say so.
Mhm.
Yeah. Like nothing will happen that you won't have chosen.
Sure.
Okay for you?
Okay.
Good. Nice. Okay. So let's partner.
Okay.
So what is it that you would like us to look into together today?
I think for me, I think about it as if I was coming to see an executive, so I'm coming to see you as an executive coach. Mathilde, I would like to be a more effective leader.
Mhm.
Um, I would like to be more productive at work every day. I would like to be a little bit more balanced, maybe. When I say balanced, I guess I'm talking about two things. One is work-life balance, not so much because of the hours that I work, but the hours that work is on my mind.
Okay.
It's not the day. It's not that I'm in the office from 6 in the morning till midnight, but from 6 in the morning till 10 at night, work is on my mind.
Okay. On your mind, and what does it do on your mind?
I think it depends on the day. Some days it's tough because I'm dealing with an issue. I think the toughest issues are people issues. For me, I find that very difficult when I'm not comfortable with a interpersonal situation.
Mhm.
If everything is going well with the team and the interpersonal relationships at work, which I would say it is now. So if we look at right now, I don't feel like there are any of those issues. I'm just constantly thinking about what I need to do next, making sure we don't drop the ball, wanting to make sure that we put our best foot forward. And when I say we, I really mean we, as in the whole organization.
Okay.
Am I comfortable with each area of the organization and what we're doing? I think those things are constantly on my mind.
Yeah.
And also that nagging question, have I forgotten anything? Because we juggle a lot of balls.
Yeah.
So that question's always on my mind. What am I missing? What have I forgotten?
Okay. Yeah, I can see when you're talking about this, I can see the level of intensity in your eyes. Yeah.
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 It can be intense. I don't think it's stressful. Sometimes I'm told you're stressed, and I'm saying I'm not. I don't feel it unless there's a real problem. That could be, how do we pay our bills? That could be, we've got an employee or an individual who's doing something that I'm not comfortable with. Those situations will stress me.
Yeah. Yeah.
The actual, have we dropped a ball? What am I missing? I actually kind of enjoy that energy in a sense.
Yeah.
That drives me.
Yeah.
That motivates me, and I love that.
Nice. I can see that. So if this was actually the first coaching of a series of sessions, then I would ask you to like think about where do you want to be after this series of sessions, like, and what kind of leaders. So you want to be a better leader. You told me about a few aspects of it, and then I would like go with you asking more about like what does this better leader exactly look like, and what would be different in terms of like performance, efficiency, balance, etc. Yeah, that's what we would typically do. But for this moment to like be a coaching moment, what I would like to ask you now is that within the time we have here and now, like which of these aspects would you like us to focus on just now? And first, which of these
There's two
aspects?
things that come to mind. One that I hadn't thought of before this session, but I thought of while we were talking, which is good. And one that I had thought of before this session. So the one that I had not thought of, I think because my mind is always so full of work, I don't always feel I'm present. Whether that's at home or when I'm discussing something with someone at work, I might be thinking about something else at work. And I'm very aware of that.
Okay.
Um,
So that's the topic of presence.
yeah.
Yes.
So I think presence would be one.
Okay.
The other thing that I think that I struggle with sometimes is difficult discussions. More on a one-on-one basis. If I've got a problem with a person, that's probably, in my mind, one of my weak points.
Okay.
When everything's going well, I think I'm pretty good.
Yeah, well, there is a reason we call them difficult conversations. Yeah. So which of these topics would you like us to
Let's focus on presence, because I hadn't prepared for that. So let's focus on presence. That'll be interesting.
Okay, absolutely. Okay. And if we focused on that level of presence that you notice you're not having or not always having, what would you like would you like to walk away with at the end of our conversation?
What do I do with the awareness? So I'm aware that I'm not present, but I'm still struggling to be present, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So there's little things that I will do now at home. Like I will make sure that none of my devices are with me at dinner.
Okay.
I think that's a good starting point. I'll leave it on the sofa, something else, and then we'll go to dinner. It's a good starting point. So I'm not getting distracted by notifications. I'm not checking my phone. But sometimes I'm still sitting there thinking, I didn't do that today. and then I'm missing what's going on around me.
Yes. Okay.
And I know that's something I struggle with
Yes.
because my mind is very active
Hmm.
until I go to bed, where I manage to switch it off.
Okay.
I don't have trouble sleeping typically,
Mhm.
unless it's a people problem. I don't have trouble sleeping. I can switch it off, but I can't switch it off while I'm awake.
Yeah. So you have the awareness, and you would like to actually know what to do with this awareness.
Yeah, kind of.
And ideally, what would you like in terms of presence, of your presence at wake?
I think I'd like to be there for the people who I'm around at that time,
Mhm.
whether it's my family or whether it's the person I'm talking to in the office. I'm not thinking about the other problem.
Mm.
Like I've switched that one off and I can come back to that one later. But right now I'm here and I'm talking to you now.
Mhm. Yeah. You're very present now.
I'm present now because I guess I know we're being recorded and I know so this is easier in a sense. But I can lose focus quite easily
Mhm.
on what's going on around me because I think there may be something more important in my head.
Yeah. Yeah. So when you would be more present,
Mhm.
what impact would it have on you?
I think I'd be a better leader for my team, honestly.
In what sense?
I'd be more confident that I hadn't missed anything.
Hmm.
Missed anything important for the business, but also important for the individual.
Okay.
Um, and also giving them the feeling that I'm present. Because I'm sure that people notice that I'm not present sometimes.
And what impact would that have when they feel you're present?
It means a lot to me that my team are comfortable, happy, feel respected. Um, I don't want them to think that I'm distracted. And I think that would make for a more productive team.
Mhm.
I think that would make for a better interpersonal relationship. Um, and I think I've got pretty good trust with my team, but I think it will maybe even be better.
Mhm. Okay.
And let's say not even just my team, but even at home, whether it's with the kids or family stuff. Because business, as you said with the success story you talked about, business can be all encompassing sometimes, especially as an entrepreneur where the buck stops with you. It's kind of hard to switch it off.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. That topic of presence, I can feel like is really uh, like I can sense you're very focused now,
Yeah.
and it looks important to you.
Yeah.
Yeah. How important is it to you? Like from a scale of 1 to 10, let's say.
I would say 8 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very important.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very important.
Yeah. And how much would you say, like, if you looked at the, like, let's say the past week,
Mm.
how would you uh, looking at the level of presence you had in the past week with your team, for example? How would you assess this? Like again, from a scale of 1 to 10.
6 to 7, 6.5.
Okay. And where would you like this to be?
At an 8 to 9.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. And what? Let me think. What would be different when you would have this level of 8 to 9 of presence with your team? Like, what would be different? What could,
I think that there'd be better connection for sure. I think it would probably lead to more discussions, and probably open up some things that I was missing, either in what my team's feeling. Um, Probably some things that I haven't noticed, I would notice if I was more present.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that would benefit the business, but I also, I hate dropping the ball. I really, really, and I hate letting people down. And I think that that's the conflict here. That if I'm present, then I'm not letting the person I'm with down. But if I'm not thinking about all the things, then maybe I'll be letting someone else down.
Yeah.
And so I'm very conscious in my mind of just always remember, I've got to do this, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I can't let this person down. I've got to get back to this person. I hate it when people don't reply, for instance, and I don't want to be that person who doesn't reply.
Okay.
It really bugs me. It's like, I sent you 3 messages and you haven't even, if you tell me you're not interested, fine. I can deal with that. Don't ignore me.
Yeah.
So I think that's why sometimes I'm always like, I'm on, because I don't want people to feel that way.
Sure.
But maybe in the moment I'm making someone feel that way because I don't want to let someone else feel that way, if that makes sense.
Sure, absolutely. And this thing of dropping the ball, which of your values could it relate with?
I just want to be, I expect a lot from my team, and I feel like being reliable, being quick, being prompt, you know, and I think that my team and my business colleagues, partners, whatever it is, people we're working with, talking to, my family, I want to be able to get back to them too. It doesn't matter whether it's a message from my mum, or an email from my managing director in Vietnam, or something that needs approval from my finance manager. I want to get back to them quickly. I don't want to be the constraint in the wheel.
Okay.
I like to keep things moving.
Yes.
And that's always on my mind. It's like, if someone sent me something and they're waiting for me to do something, then they can't move forward until I do it.
Yes. Okay.
And I think that leads to a lot of other things. Like sometimes I find I focus on the weekends better because I'm not getting emails and I'm not getting messages as much. So I actually do some of my best work when I'm sitting for 2 hours on the weekend, because I don't feel like I got to get back to that person. I've always been like this though.
Okay.
I think it's always been, one of those things where I just dive in, and someone sent me something, I get back to it.
So I understand you really want to be, like, on one hand you want to be like reactive and like reliable.
Yep.
With the people you work with, like with anyone actually.
Yep.
Yes. And at the same time you want to be present.
Yep.
And I understand that it looks like there is tension in between.
Yeah, for sure.
Where is the tension? Can you feel it anywhere now? Like in your body, in your mind? Like how palpable is it?
Yeah, no, I can feel it. I can feel sometimes my heart rate gets a little bit elevated, like I got to get back to this person, but this person's, outside just waiting to see me. Yeah, for sure. I can feel it.
Yeah.
I also believe, though, that a little bit of stress is actually good. I've always embraced it in a way.
Yeah.
That actually all of this, I hate doing nothing. I really, really hate. I cannot lie on a beach and do nothing.
No. Okay. Yeah. That's not my advice.
I can't. If we go on holiday, I would like to hike a mountain. I want to be doing something.
Okay. Okay. Clear.
And so this has always been something. Even our family holidays, they've always been adventure holidays.
Yeah.
It's very rare that we just lie around.
Okay. I am curious about one thing with that.
Yeah.
Like, because you like to be active.
Yeah.
Yeah. How does being active and being present go together?
Maybe that's what I'm struggling with. Maybe that's what I'm struggling with. Like, I would rather have a conversation on a hike sometimes
Yeah.
than because I feel like I'm doing something and and we're having a conversation. Um, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah, and it's not about answering and getting things right or whatever at all. It's more like I have a sense that we are approaching to like maybe closer to what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny because I've never really discussed it with anyone.
Mhm.
It's something I'm aware of.
Mhm.
Um, to the extent that even if I think back to this afternoon, I was sitting upstairs and two of the team came in and we started a discussion. And I was working on something and I was like, let it go, focus on this discussion. And I was telling myself to be present.
Okay.
And maybe that's why it's really top of mind for me. Because I was trying to tell myself, you've got to be present for this discussion.
Yeah.
This is important. Um,
So it was a decision you made.
yeah, it was a decision to say, okay, close the laptop, come back to this in a minute, this discussion. It's important to them. I knew it was important to them.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was, I'm not saying it wasn't important to me. The fact that it was important to them was important to me.
Okay. Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So what helped you like make the decision to be present to them?
That they were so engaged, that they were so enthusiastic to have the discussion, that they were so interested. I feel like I can't let them down, right? I need to engage here.
Yes. They came to you and then it was obvious that they needed your presence.
Yeah.
In a way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted to understand what I was thinking,
Yeah.
you know.
Okay. And can I ask you more about this conversation? Yes.
Sure.
When you were discussing with them, how present were you? Like you say, like we have a scale about presence.
Yeah.
Like how were you on this scale during that conversation?
I would say I was about a 7.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it was about a 7.
What would make it an 8 to 9?
I was thinking about our discussion today. And I was, you know, I guess if I hadn't had that in the back of my mind, that would have made it an 8 to 9.
Okay. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking about what else is happening today. This was on the calendar. I was like, I need to prepare. I need to make sure everything's right for when we do the podcast with Mathilde. Yeah.
Sure. It makes me think about the interferences we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
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 Which it does eat up some of our mental energy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And in that moment, like with this awareness, like you told me, I want to know what to do with this awareness. I have this in mind. Now that you have the awareness, for example, about what's going on with this conversation you had, so you knew that it was important to them. You decided to be present. You like gave it a go, and you had a high level of presence, but still with a bit of pollution, like mental pollution, let's say. What is it that you could do to minimize this pollution even more? Like, do you have any ideas?
It's interesting because it was a moment in time where they came to me. I could have said, let's schedule a time to talk about this separately.
Yeah.
Like, we'll be done with the podcast at 4 p.m. or 4:30. Let's talk after that.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you have you can allow the full focus.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. That's one option.
That could be one.
Yep. Absolutely. What else? Like if you didn't think of that and you're in the conversation and this pollution happens.
Yeah, I don't know if I have a good answer to that. I mean, I did everything I think I could. I put the screen down on my laptop.
Yep.
I turned away from my desk, tried to focus as much as I can, and just tried to really think about what was the discussion we were having.
Yeah.
You know, I was just trying to be present.
Yes. Yeah. I can
I mean,
I can see that.
that's I
Yes.
think that I don't know if there was anything else I could have done except to say, "Hey, can we get together at 4:30 and really talk this through?"
Okay. Yeah. Which
That would have
is
been the other alternative.
absolutely. I'm thinking like maybe let's get some help. Like if you know, like do you have in mind anyone that you know where you really appreciate their high level of presence?
Yeah, I can think of one person.
Okay. Yeah. So when you bring that person to mind, like what would this person do that makes a difference?
Ask questions.
Mm. Yeah. What kind of difference does it make?
Well, yeah, I think you know that someone's there when they seem to be genuinely curious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You can engage yourself
Yeah.
like in the way, like
I mean,
yeah.
you feel like someone's listening to you when they feed off what you're saying and they ask you a question.
Yep.
Um, you know they've heard you.
Mm. Yeah.
As long as it's not a bullshit question. I mean, you can tell. I mean, we all have that sort of, you know, that sense that someone's actually listening or someone's not actually listening.
Yes.
So yeah,
Is it something that you could use more?
yeah, probably. Um, I think asking questions is something that, and thinking of what's a good question to ask would probably make me listen more and be more present.
Okay. Yeah. Listen more and be more present.
Yeah.
Being now are coming together. I'm noticing
Yeah.
like when you notice they are together, does it bring anything to mind?
I don't know.
Okay. Let's
Listen,
just check.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, certainly being present is about listening, right? Knowing that someone is present, you feel it, you sense it, you can tell if based on what they're saying to you, questions they're asking, comments they're making, the feedback sometimes that they're giving to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So asking questions, like you using your curiosity, could be one, and also like checking whether there is a better time to do things, so that when you already know you won't be able to fully focus,
Yeah.
to be as present as you want.
Yeah.
These are two ideas that you just had. I'm just thinking about like in the broader sense, like we used this conversation you had earlier as an example. But you brought the level of the topic of presence in a broader way. And I'm curious, like having heard how it looks very important for you to, when you decide to be present, to really be there, like totally. And at the same time, juggling with so many balls makes it challenging. Yeah. I'm curious about this one. Like, what do you think could help you, like going one step closer to the level of presence you want to offer when you have so many things to juggle?
I guess the only thing I can think of is to actually find time in the day to do different things, and basically it's almost like get it in the calendar that this is the time you do this, this is the time you do this, this is the time you do this. I know it's something I'll struggle with
Mm-hmm.
because if 4 to 6 p.m. is the time to do this, and I get a message at 7 p.m. that this is urgent, I'm going to jump on that.
Okay.
And I think that's just part of the speed of commerce today and the number of things that we're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're an entrepreneur and you have like demands and you have to respond quickly.
Yeah, and your team needs you.
Yep.
Because the bank needs an approval, or
Yeah.
the payment hasn't gone through because something happened and you need to reapprove it.
So not everything can be planned.
Yeah, not everything can be planned, for sure.
Okay.
And I guess part of the challenge that we've got is we just have so much going on that there's always something that can't be planned.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's something that I've come to be comfortable with to a degree, because I love juggling different balls.
Mhm.
I love trying new things, and I love doing different things.
Yeah.
And that just means that sometimes there's going to be a ball thrown at you that you're not expecting,
Sure.
and
Absolutely.
I don't want to drop it.
No.
I don't want to drop it. But I guess I just struggle with that when it comes to, and I don't even know if there's a good answer, but I'm not sure there is. But how do you be present when that happens? You can't sometimes, and you got to be comfortable with a certain level of, this can't be perfect.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think as long as people around you, I'm very blessed, Mathilde. I'm very blessed that I think the people around me understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. That you're
And
not perfect.
yeah,
At all.
not perfect so by any means, but also that
Nobody.
we're doing a lot of different
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
and that has some certain inevitable consequences when we're doing that much.
Yes. One question that this brings to me is, what do you want to be present to when it happens? Like when there is a new ball that's being thrown in your juggling game, unexpected, and one that's unexpected, what do you want to be present to at this very moment?
I want to be present in both places at the same time, which you can't be.
Yeah.
Which you can't be. It's interesting. I don't know what the answer is, and I'm not sure there is a good answer, but it's just it's something I'm working on.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure. And being comfortable sometimes with saying, okay, this can wait.
Yeah.
And just making that better decision about what really can't wait and what really is maybe not as urgent as the priority I'm placing on it.
Exactly. Maybe it takes an in the moment discernment about, like, do I catch it now?
Yeah.
Do I like let it drop like just now and I will get it, or whatever? Or do I send someone? There's so many ways. Yeah.
What's really interesting about this discussion is that these are not things that in my life I've typically talked about, if that makes sense.
Sure.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's sort of, I've always sort of gone through life. I think I've got a good degree of self-awareness. I'm sure I have blind spots. I don't know what they are. That's why they're blind spots. But I find that over a period of time, I know I'm aware of one or two things and I'm working on them. And then I'm aware of another one or two things and I'm working on them. And I think I said this to you when we talked about this session, that it's one of the reasons that I felt like there's a couple of people I can speak to about certain things. I probably don't go into the amount of detail or the as deep as we've gone right now, but I'll say I'm struggling with this and I'll listen to what they say, and they'll tell me that they're struggling with the same thing. And that's always a nice thing to hear. Or they'll tell me, don't be stupid, think about it this way or think about it that way. And I'm fine with that kind of feedback. I also listen to a lot of podcasts about people in similar situations and realizing that other people are going through similar things. And I'm not just talking about being present. I'm talking about all the challenges of being an entrepreneur, running a business, all of that stuff. Just being aware that other people are in that same space.
Yes.
For me, that's been the coaching that I think I've been getting. It's not going to see a coach, but it's coaching coming from all of these different influences around me.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because, like I said, I haven't gone into that level of detail with someone like we just did, and really gone deep down.
Exactly. It's like it's
You
a
know?
it's like
Yeah.
it's a focus. And you had this question, like for us to wrap up,
Yeah,
to do this question, like, so you had this awareness, we zoomed in,
yeah,
like in quite
yeah.
details and depth. Like, what have you learned about this awareness that's new to you?
I think articulating it helps.
Mhm.
I was aware of it. I'm probably more aware of it after speaking about it. I will definitely be more aware of it in the next few days, and and I'll probably
Yes.
be thinking about it tonight
Uh-huh.
while I'm having dinner as well,
Mhm.
which is a good thing.
And what would you then do with this expanded awareness?
Oh, look, I think expanding awareness and expanding your thinking always helps, because I think I don't think the solutions come immediately,
Mhm. Yep.
but the more aware you are of something, the more you can manage it in your own head.
Yep.
I don't know quite how you do that, but I think that's how the brain works in a way.
Absolutely.
You know,
When you articulate it, you also announce your intentional. You have a new, a more profound intentionality with it.
yeah,
You know.
yeah.
I mean,
It's that
that's what I. That's what
intentionality.
I. Yes.
It's that
Yeah.
intentionality. I think
Yes.
that's so interesting,
Yeah.
because I guess I'm aware of it, but that intentionality will be enhanced after this discussion.
Yeah.
It'll certainly be more of a focus for me. Interesting. Interesting. You got me to think about something that I hadn't thought about before we got talking. So that's super interesting.
Nice. Can I ask you two more questions about this?
Sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there anything you learned about you with our conversation?
Maybe it's good to talk about things. And not just brush it over and jump onto the next thing that I have to do.
Like Jack wants to
Stop and talk about it. I think that would be the main one,
Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah. Okay.
Honestly, I think I grew up in a generation where I don't know if it's men, boys, guys, or just the whole generation, but we didn't talk about these things. We never did. I think growing up, we just got on with things. There was an issue, you dealt with it. Um, in a funny way, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think in certain situations it can be, but I think it teaches you resilience. I think it teaches you um, how to solve problems yourself.
Yeah.
I do worry sometimes that younger generations struggle with it more than my generation. And we have a lot of discussions with friends from school and stuff. We actually have a lot of discussions about this. But we never used to talk about these things. And now everyone's talking about them, and we just got on with it.
Exactly. Like it's like do go fast and like it's the focus on efficiency.
Yeah.
That's been quite on and what we, I mean, conversation that like the one we just had is actually slowing down and articulating and looking into from different angles to understand something that if you go fast all the time, you don't see.
Yeah.
And you're aware, but you don't know what to do
Yeah.
with it. And when you slow down, you're like, yeah, it looks a bit different to what I thought, or it's like, yeah. Okay.
What was the other
Good.
question? You had two questions. Was it?
Yes, absolutely. The other question I have is, um, like, is there anything else about this topic of presence that have not been said yet or needs to be said here before we close?
No, I think the only thing is that I'm probably aware that people are aware that I'm not present. Sometimes I can be very present. I mean, depending on the situation, I'm all there. I think that's the only one, is that I don't want to make other people also feel. I think in many ways, with people I care about, I'm a people pleaser, and so when I'm not present and I know that they're feeling that doesn't make me feel great.
Yeah. Mm.
Interesting. Is that quite typical of how a session would go or not? Apart from the artificial environment of microphones and lights and
I was
all
about
of
to
that.
go there. Like
Yeah.
usually, I mean, we're in full confidentiality, and this is a setup where like it looks like we are, but we're not.
Yeah.
Like it feels totally safe. Yeah.
Yeah, but I've been totally transparent though.
Absolutely.
I mean, from my side, I don't think that I could have been more transparent if we were in a different environment.
Yeah, I could feel
Yeah.
like a total openness, and that's my very last question.
Yeah.
and I really promised to myself I would ask it.
Yeah.
It's whether you're okay for these conversations to be like released and
Oh, absolutely.
and transmitted. Yeah,
Absolutely. I mean,
it's an intimate one, and still it's rather a typical coaching session. Yes,
it is. I mean, one of the things that Entrepreneur Stories has taught me, and it's taught me a lot because we've learned so much. I've learned so much from the guests we've had on this session. Seeing how open, transparent, but also vulnerable some of the guests have been on this discussion. That's something I don't think a year or two ago I could have been. But seeing other people do it and doing it with me during these discussions, I think has helped me also to say it's okay to be a little more vulnerable with stuff like that, if that makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Because some of the guests really have opened up, and it's made for some really, really interesting discussions. So that's it. So what is it that you love about coaching? Is it just diving into these emotions, these feelings? What is it that you take from it?
Well, there are many things. Like one is the connection. Yeah, as we just had, like that's very palpable and enjoyable.
Yep.
That's for sure, and very humbling as well.
Yep.
Too, like the level of trust and level of trust that people give and that we have is like amazing, and I absolutely love it.
Okay.
But another thing I love it that I'm very curious about the world, about people.
Yeah.
I love to learn, and this is infinite learning.
Yeah.
Like there won't be a day where I will say, okay, I got it all. And if there is one, I should stop immediately.
Yeah.
Well, I really like enjoy that a lot. And I enjoy the self-growth, because it's interesting you brought the level of the topic of presence, because it's a huge topic for us in coaching.
Yeah.
Like what we do is, if there is one word to describe coaching, is presence.
Interesting.
It's like, what does it take for me to be totally, fully present to you now? And it takes my presence now, but it takes preparation, self-work, a way to balance my life, to attend to my needs. That has been a journey of growth for me that's unbelievable. And I'm very grateful for that, because it's, again, something that it's probably a lifelong journey. I will continue to learn. And the more I learn to take care of myself, the more presence I can offer to people. And then I can also go more in depth, about like seeing people and having people feel seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that journey you spoke about, I mean, that's one of the things that I've loved about doing these discussions as well, is just speaking to people and hearing their stories, diving in, doing the research, and then finding out, even after doing all the research, you didn't know everything, because something always comes up when you're talking that you weren't prepared for. And I was not prepared to talk about presence at all. There is nothing in front of me that has the word presence on it, which is super interesting. Couple of last questions.
Sure.
Hong Kong is a super high-paced cultural melting pot. People work hard, people play hard.
Yep.
I see a lot of stress in a lot of people in this city, but also a lot of energy, a lot of passion. You see things here that jump out at you that you may not see in other places because of that?
Oh yeah, I think so. The first thing, I arrived in Hong Kong 14 years ago, and I found it very intense.
Yeah.
And at first, it didn't like it was a bit overwhelming to me. Now I love this intensity, like the fast pace and the energy, as you say, is amazing. And there are always like many things going on, but I think Hong Kong is having important shifts happening, and that makes it a very unique place. With the work I'm doing, I can enter in people's intimacy quite a lot. I hear a lot of things, and I really appreciate how people in Hong Kong, like they may not speak about themselves a lot, like openly, yeah, but when you get to enter in this intimacy, there's so much richness and depth that I would absolutely not have imagined before or at the beginning of my time here. Absolutely love that. And so for me, it's like depth and intensity for sure. Yeah.
Did you come here with the intention to stay, or did you come here with the intention of a short
No,
contract?
I had no idea. And I thought, like, we came with an open-end contract,
Yeah.
which was a bit frightening to me. And I remember I had my husband promise me that, okay, in 3 years we sit down and we decide whether we stay or we go. Because if it's open-ended, you never know.
Yeah.
Which actually we did, and I really liked that we recontracted like several times, coming now to a rather open-ended term. So I don't know.
It's amazing how this city can just grab some people and keep them here.
Yes.
Is there anything else we haven't spoken about when it comes to coaching that you want to mention?
Well, there are many things, and I mean, I think I could speak about coaching like so much. Like for me, I would, I think I would dare people, like dare to
Give it a try.
give it a try.
Yeah.
And because in the end, well, I'm coached all the time, and I learned so much. And you could say like, oh, she's a coach, she can, coach herself. Like, yes, on some things totally. Yeah. And I've really progressed in decision making or in like getting to clarity with myself. But there's so many things that I definitely need support with.
Yeah.
And I do like grab a friend or call a coach or hire a coach for a real like journey, like which I do very regularly, because it's a journey of like discovery, and it's partnering.
Yeah.
And I really love like I think the last thing I would like to say is the partnering for me. If I were to change the word of coaching, which is totally overused and misused a lot, for me it's a companionship. Yeah, partnering, yes, but companion. Like you're not alone on the journey. And from time to time, you grab the hand of a companion and say, like, walk with me.
Yeah.
Yeah. And let's talk. It's exactly that.
Yeah.
And I enjoy receiving it. I enjoy giving it. And I wish people would, try it more. Yeah, go for it.
Fantastic. Thank you, Mathilde. It's been a really interesting discussion because it went in a direction I didn't think it would. And AI did not know what you were going to ask me, which I can share with you later offline. But no, thank you again. It's great to have you on, and let's see where the discussion goes.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate. Thank you.